Hi everyone, I'm Habiba Hisham, and today I'll be presenting two key topics from our linguistics course: phonetics, the study of speech sounds, and morphology, the study of how words are formed. These two topics are taken from Chapter 3 and Chapter 5 of the Study of Language by George Yule. Let's get started. Chapter 3 introduces the fascinating realm of the sounds of speech that undergird human communication. It will take us through how the vocal tract produces the sounds, the role of voiced versus voiceless sounds, and even many details on places and manners of articulation. Every sound has its particular characteristics which will help us analyze and understand how we produce and perceive every day. These elements are crucial to understanding spoken language and its diversity. Before diving into Chapter 3, let's first take a moment to explore how the brain helps us produce and understand language. Different parts of the brain work together to make this happen. One important area, called Broca's area, helps us combine words into sentences. Another area, Wernicke's area, is responsible for helping us comprehend the meaning of the words we hear. These areas communicate with each other using tiny messengers in the brain called neurons. Here's how it works. When you hear a word, neurons in Wernicke's area quickly figure out its meaning. Then Broca's area sends signals to the muscles in your mouth, like your tongue and lips, so you can say the word out loud. This all happens so fast that it feels like magic. Don't you think it's amazing? Okay, so now let's move on to Chapter 3, where we'll explore speech sounds. In this chapter, we're going to focus on understanding how these sounds are made and how they work in language. First, we'll discuss how speech sounds are produced. This involves looking at how air flows through our mouth, how the vocal cords vibrate, and how different parts of the mouth, such as the tongue and the lips, work together to create sounds. We're also going to discuss the difference between voiced and voiceless sounds. This difference is very important because it changes both the sound and meaning of words. Finally, we'll look at how speech sounds are classified. This means grouping sounds based on where and how they are made in the mouth, which helps us understand how each sound is produced differently. Let's now dive deeper into these concepts and see how these sounds work in more detail. Let's start with the places of articulation, beginning with the bilabials. These are sounds that are produced when both lips are put together. The first sound is the p sound, as in the word pen. It's a voiceless sound, which simply means the vocal cords don't vibrate when it's being produced. Secondly, we have the sound b, as in the word book. The same as the sound p but voiced. You'll feel the vibration of your vocal cords. Lastly, we have the sound m, as in the word man. This is also a voiced sound, but it's a nasal sound, which means the air passes through the nose along with the mouth. While both sounds p and b are produced by bringing the lips together, the difference is that the sound p is voiceless, while the sound b is voiced. Likewise, the sound m is voiced, but it's produced by allowing the air to pass through the nose. Next come the labiodentals, which are sounds made by the bottom lip touching the upper teeth. First we have f, a voiceless labiodental fricative, as in the word fan. A voiceless sound means that your vocal cords do not vibrate during the articulation of this consonant. Next, we have v, a voiced labiodental fricative, as in the word van. A voiced sound means that your vocal cords vibrate during its articulation. When producing this sound, your bottom lip should touch your upper teeth in exactly the right place. Then, we have dental sounds. These are sounds made by the tongue touching the upper teeth or just behind them, as shown in this diagram. For example, the sound th in think and the sound th in this are produced by placing the tongue lightly between the upper teeth. From a voicing point of view, the sound th in think is voiceless because the vocal cords do not vibrate while articulating it, whereas the sound th in this is voiced, which means the vocal cords vibrate while pronouncing the sound. Well, alveolar sounds. These are sounds produced by placement of the tongue behind a small ridge called alveolar ridge, which lies behind your upper front teeth just above here, as you may observe from this diagram. This is the part of the mouth where we produce the t, d, s, z, n, and l sounds. Examples include the sound t as in top, the sound d as in dog, the sound s as in snake, the sound z as in zoo, the sound n as in net, and the sound l as in line. Moving on, we have palatal sounds. Palatal sounds are those that are produced when the tongue touches the hard palate, the roof of your mouth, further back from the alveolar ridge, as shown in the diagram. These are the sounds that are produced with the tongue coming in contact with the hard palate. Starting first with sh, as in shy, this is a voiceless sound, which is to say the vocal cords are not vibrating to produce the sound. Similarly, the sound ch, as in chess, is also voiceless. On the other hand, we have the sound j, as in measure. This sound is voiced, which means the vocal cords vibrate in producing it. And similar to it, we have the sound j, as in judge. This is also voiced sound. The velar consonants are articulated by the back of the tongue, making contact with the soft part of the roof of the mouth, called the velum, as shown in the diagram. For example, the k sound in cat and the g sound in go are velar because the back of the tongue touches the velum. The k sound is voiceless, meaning the vocal cords do not vibrate during articulation, while the g sound is voiced, meaning the vocal cords do vibrate. Another example of a velar sound is the ng sound, as in sing. This sound is also voiced. Then we have glottal sounds. Glottal sounds are produced by the vocal cords without involving the tongue or teeth. For instance, the h sound in hat is produced by forcing air through open vocal cords. Another glottal sound is the glottal stop used in some dialects, such as in the middle of the word button. The h sound is voiceless, meaning the vocal cords do not vibrate. The glottal stop is voiceless as well, usually. Having covered the places of articulation, which refer to where sounds are produced in the vocal tract, let's now explore manners of articulation, which describe how airflow is shaped to produce different sounds. Manners of articulation include stops, fricatives, affricates, nasals, liquids, and glides. Let's begin with stops. Stops occur when the airflow is completely blocked at a certain point along the vocal tract and then released suddenly. For example, the p sound in pen and the b sound in book block airflow with the lips, while the t sound in top and the d sound in dog block airflow by placing the tongue against the alveolar ridge. Fricatives, on the other hand, are produced by forcing air through a narrow opening in the vocal tract, creating friction. Examples include the f sound in fan and the v sound in vet, which are produced by forcing air between the upper teeth and the lower lip. The s sound in snake and the z sound in zoo are produced by forcing air through a narrow gap between the tongue and the alveolar ridge. Similarly, the sh sound in shy and the j sound in measure are created by forcing air through a small opening between the tongue and the roof of the mouth. Next up, we'll discuss affricates, which are unique because they start as stops and release as fricatives. This means the sound starts with a complete blockage of airflow like a stop, but then the closure opens slightly to allow air to escape with friction similar to a fricative. Two common affricates in English are ch as in church and j as in judge. Affricates combine the characteristics of both stops and fricatives and share the same place of articulation. Another manner of articulation is nasals. Nasal sounds are produced by lowering the velum, the soft part at the back of the roof of your mouth, allowing air to escape through the nose instead of the mouth. In nasals, airflow is completely obstructed in the oral cavity. English has three nasal sounds. The sound m as in man, the sound n as in nose, and the sound ng as in sing. Interestingly, nasal sounds in English are always voiced, meaning the vocal cords don't vibrate during their production. Now we conclude the manners of articulation with two unique categories, liquids and glides. Liquids like the sound in l in light and the sound r in right are produced with the tongue shaping the airflow without obstructing. These sounds are smooth and flowing, giving liquids their characteristic quality. Glides, on the other hand, are sometimes called semivowels. They have characteristics of vowels but function as consonants. Examples include the sound woo in we and the sound ye in yes. Glides are produced by rapid movement toward the vowel they are paired with. Together, liquids and glides create smooth, flowing speech. This chapter, Chapter 3, has been an exciting journey into the world of phonetics by examining how speech sounds are produced. We began with a consideration of places of articulation, identifying those places in the vocal tract where the production of speech sounds occurs. Then, we turned our attention to manners of articulation and learned about the ways in which airflow is manipulated in order to produce different types of stops, fricatives, affricates, liquids, and glides. This knowledge not only deepens our understanding of how language works, but also forms a critical basis upon which one analyzes accents, does pronunciation work, and studies the sound variation in different languages. Having discussed the sounds of language, we move on to the word formation processes, ways in which new words are created. The processes exist to extend a language's vocabulary and at the same time reflect a language's culture and historical development. For example, languages borrow words from one another, combine the already existed words into a new formation, or attach prefixes and suffixes to modify their meaning. This chapter will walk us through these means, each providing a more profound perception of how language grows and adapts. Let's begin by exploring three key word formation processes: derivation, back formation, and conversion. These processes related but vary in how they create new words. First, derivation. It involves the addition of a prefix, suffix, or affix to a base word. For instance, the addition of ness to happy gives happiness, and the addition of un to kind gives unkind. Similarly, the combination of a prefix and a suffix, like in unbelievable, adds both un and able to the base word believe. Next, back formation. It's done by removing what appears to be a prefix or a suffix to form a new simpler word. For instance, the word edit is obtained from editor, and donate is formed from donation. Back formation generally consists of the use of words that have ordinary suffixes ending such as ein. Finally, conversion, also called zero derivation, is a process whereby a word's grammatical category is changed without its form being modified. Thus, the noun Google becomes the verb to Google, and the noun dream becomes the verb to dream. Similarly, the verb laugh can be converted into the noun a laugh. This is distinctive because it does not involve any prefixes or suffixes. These three processes show how creative and adaptable language is in meeting new communication needs. Now, let's discuss the first word formation process in this comparison: acronyms. Acronyms are formed by taking the initial letters of a series of words and combining them into a new term. These terms are usually pronounced as one word. For example, NASA stands for the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. UNICEF stands for the United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund. Radar comes from radio detection and ranging. Acronyms simplify long phrases into shorter words, and many of them have become so common in our daily and professional language, especially in technical or organization-based contexts. Next, we have the word formation process called clipping. Clipping involves shortening a longer word to create a simpler form while retaining its original meaning. For example, the word advertisement is clipped to ad. Gymnasium becomes gym. Telephone is shortened to phone. Mathematics is reduced to math, and laboratory becomes lab. Clipping is common in informal speech and makes communication quicker and easier by focusing on key parts of words. Now, let's explore two fascinating word formation processes: compounding and blending. Compounding is a process of combining two or more independent words to make a new word. For example, toothbrush comes from tooth and brush. Blackboard comes from black and board. Other examples are sunflower, which is created from sun and flower, and babysit, derived from baby and sit. On the other hand, a blend is created by combining parts of two words to form a new word. For example, brunch comes from breakfast and lunch, while motel combines motor and hotel. Other examples include smog, formed from smoke and fog, and infomercial, derived from information and commercial. Both processes demonstrate the flexibility of language in creating new words. And now, let's discuss two more fascinating word formation processes: coinage and borrowing. Coinage refers to the invention of entirely new words, many of which are brand names or terms having to do with technology. Examples include Kleenex, which has become the general term for tissues, and aspirin, which was originally a brand name. Other examples of this include Google, which has become a verb that means to search something online, and Band-Aid, which is the term for adhesive bandages. On the other hand, borrowing occurs when a language adopts words from other languages and integrates them. Examples include ballet from French, pizza from Italian, algebra from Arabic, and karaoke from Japanese. Another example is atelier, a French word meaning workshop or studio. Similarly, the French word campaign originally referred to military operations. Over time, its meaning has expanded to include any organized effort, such as political, social, or advertising campaigns. These borrowed words show how languages influence each other and how cultures are connected. In conclusion, Chapter 5 has shown how words come into being both creatively and systematically. Each process, derivation, backformation, conversion, acronyms, clipping, compounding, blending, coinage, and borrowing, adds in its own unique way to our power to describe abstract thoughts and to cope with an evolving universe. In this way, language lives and evolves, reflecting the creativity, culture, and practicality of its speakers. Understanding these processes enhances our appreciation for the richness of communication. This is the end of Chapter 5. Thank you for joining me on this linguistic journey. It's been a fascinating experience exploring the richness and complexity of language together? In this presentation, we explored Chapter 3 on the sounds of language and Chapter 5 on the fascinating process of word formation. Before we conclude, I'd like to leave you with a thought. Language is not just a tool, but a reflection of our creativity and identity. I hope this presentation has enriched your understanding and appreciation of linguistics. Thank you very much for listening.